We're running. Hello, my dear friends, Operator.starsky here, and today I'm with Russian dude. And by the way, you know, looking at Artem now, you can literally see who is the Russian dude, like on this screen. However, when you look at his channel, a question emerges: where is the Russian dude here? So, first of all, welcome to my channel, Artem. It's nice to see you. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very good. Just finished recording my own video. So just warmed up my vocal cords. So we'll be probably, hopefully, speaking more clear, still with heavy Russian accent. But yeah, so far so good. Excited to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation once again.
Thank you so much. I saw you made a video with Jonathan Fink the other day. He likes to, you know, migrate between channels, basically like all us pro-Ukrainian YouTubers, etc., etc. So the other day I made this successful operation of recruiting sanctioned IBAN to the security service of Ukraine, and yeah, I think I will fail recruiting you because basically you can recruit me. But again, you know, when you see Russians using blue and yellow colors, I think this is a good indication that these people passed sanity test. This is my opinion. Regardless if they're wearing blue and yellow patch or like blue and yellow flag somewhere, or generally blue and yellow stylistics. So again, I think our viewers have a lot of questions to you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your channel? What do you do?
Obviously, so yes, like you mentioned, blue and yellow symbolic colors, combinations in whatever clothes and the backgrounds. I think every single video I recorded, even before war on this channel, I was wearing yellow hoodie. And then obviously I started adding some blue elements, obviously the famous blue background. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We pass, like you said, sanity test. Because a lot of Russians, a lot of Ukrainians, and you can agree with this, we do have relatives in both countries. My uncle, my mother's brother, his entire family, they're all in Ukraine, they're all in Vinnytsia. So we are in contact pretty much almost daily, sometimes like weekly. So yeah, like I do have family, almost half of my family is from Ukraine, but my direct family, me personally, we are from Russia. So yes, there is no way for me was to ignore the beginning of war and do nothing about it, not even speak about it, nothing like this. So yeah, this coming back to your question, what the channel is about, it is pretty self-explanatory. Since the war started, since the very first day, I was making these war updates, not a special military operation updates, but war updates, because it is a war, an actual full-scale invasion. Ever since then. Before that, I was making investing type of videos, which, by the way, I don't know if some of your viewers are familiar with my channel. My introduction is What's Up Investors, and this is what came from the beginning of this channell. And even maybe one, I don't know if you can call it a funny story, I had a video planned for that February 24th, 2022. It was an investing video which was supposed to go live on that day. But instead war started, so I launched a live stream. I was just reading like Telegram news in live, I was like screen sharing my iPad. The video obviously got 18+ mark because at that point I did not know exactly that I cannot show explosions and rocket missile attacks and everything. And since then, yeah, I saw that it was much more interest from my 20 viewers at that time. It was much more interest in Russian-Ukrainian war updates, especially with the channel name like The Russian Dude. Every single video I kept making got a little bit more and more views, 20 at first, 50, 100, 200. And once again, I felt like I'm doing something. I felt like I've started to maybe even defend the reputation of some of the Russian people. Not the regime of Putin, obviously, not the Russian military in any way, but some Russian people like me, like sanctioned Ivan, which you mentioned, because there are common sense Russians. And since then, since the very first days of the war, this became pretty much my main goal of my work on YouTube, is to, besides giving daily updates, is to also protect the reputation, whatever we have left, of the Russian people who still are in their minds to see what it is, to see the reality that it is not like a special military operation. This is an actual war, basically to protect the reputation of Russia in front of the world, I would say. So yeah, in 2-3 minutes, that's about me. That's what I do here on YouTube.
Thank you so much. We have a comment from one of the viewers. Can you pan his voice? So the reason I couldn't hear you in my right ear, apparently, was because your microphone works on one channel, on left channel. So that's the thing. It's like in stereo.
I'm using the very same settings. I'm using right now the very same settings. I can maybe switch to my headphones audio, but maybe it's not going to be as clear. I don't know if you want to try. You want me to try to switch to my headphones audio?
You know what? Let me check, my dear friends, just a second, please. We have a technical moment here. Maybe I will use some of my magic moves and make you mono in shit. No, I don't think so. My dear friends, unfortunately, I think we will have to listen to Artem like this, because
I can just switch to my headset. Maybe let's try if it's gonna be.
Let's try. Maybe it will work.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now in both ears?
Can you say something?
Test.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Nice.
What?
Nice. This is beautiful, and we can hear you cool and clear. Finally.
Okay.
Finally, before the stream started, my dear friends, I thought I went deaf on this ear, but thank God everything's fine. First of all, dear Artem, I have enormous respect towards you, because not often you can see Russians who stand against Putin, Russians who support Ukraine, which is a proper thing to do in this war. And also, of course, there are decent Russian people. Ukrainians know about them. For example, there are guys fighting in Russian Freedom Corps, Russian Legion, Freedom for Russia, Siberian Battalion, and other units. And of course, in Ukraine, we have huge respect to those guys, because they defend Ukraine against the Russian invaders, against the Putinoids. And before we start talking about that, my dear friends, I would also like to say that you probably know that I'm running the fundraiser for my brigade, which is 4th Operative Brigade of HOSTOMEL, National Guard of Ukraine. My brigade is also known as Rubizh, and we are running a fundraiser together with the European Resilience and Initiative Center to get drones that will save lives of Ukrainian soldiers. So please check out the link in the description, and also the description, because it's all the necessary information you can find over there. I know that the war changed your life big time, considering the fact that you have relatives in Ukraine, you have family in Russia. And the other day I watched one of your videos. That is, by the way, the reason why I decided to text you or somehow connect with you in the first place, where you were talking about that situation that happened in your family. Can you tell us a bit more about it? It's just so people could understand that Russian propaganda not only is killing Ukrainians, but it also destroys basically relations between families.
So yeah, long story short, I have cousins, like I guess most people do. It's not just brothers and sisters. So obviously I do have cousins, and they used to be extremely close relatives. Like, at least personally, my family, my father specifically, we still do consider them close relatives.
because apart this is like literally our first level cousins. Like in Russian and Ukrainian, it's like двоюродные братья, двоюродная сестра, like first level, the very first ones after your blood sister and blood brothers. So long story short, when I was a kid, we were extremely close with them. We were living pretty much in the same neighborhood. I was like literally living in their house sometimes for days, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, like for a week sometimes. I was playing hockey. I still play hockey. So father of that household, my uncle, he was driving me to hockey practices back and forth, like literally, like it was my second family. And then 2015 happened. This is already after Crimea and everything. So this is when I decided, when I graduated from my bachelor's back in Moscow. So I decided to go get a master's degree in Florida, in America. This was the very first red flag for them. They're like, until then, they were like still very good friends, very good relatives. Just the decision to go study in Florida, just this decision alone to go study in America was like huge red flag for them. They said like, are you going to study in our enemy country? Are you going to study with the enemies? Like this was literally almost the questions which they were asking me if you summarize them. Like what, don't you think Russia has good education? Why need to come specifically to America? Why not, I don't know, Armenia? Why not Azerbaijan? Why not Kazakhstan? Why America? Don't you hear what Putin says on TV, that Americans are stealing Russian kids, they're eating them, that New York is full of homeless people, they're killing each other on the streets of Philadelphia, and now you're going to America to study. So this was legit questions I had to, out of respect, to answer. So yeah, this was the first major red flag for them. Just me studying in America. I was not even saying anything against Putin regime, Russia, nothing. I just went to study to Florida. The first time I came to Russia to visit was 2016. So only 1 year later, only 1 year after I left Russia, 2016, and already you can see it in their eyes that the attitude changed. You see them that they don't not willing to speak with me that much anymore. I was like, okay, maybe wherever they have their own like things in their mind. I go back to study, blah blah blah. 2018, I think it was the last time when I was in Russia. 2018, unfortunately, went to St. Petersburg with my current wife. First time she was in Russia, by the way. And so this is where I met the aunt, my aunt. She's kind of passive. She's kind of in between. She's like, yeah, family first, but still you went to America to study, so you are like kind of shady person for me now. But okay, you are still family. And so long story short, we met in St. Petersburg. It was just a random encounter. I met her on the street. She was just walking. I'm like, aunt, is this you? So we go to cafe to talk, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, so like, let's call my uncle. Let's call your husband. Like, let's talk. I just can say hi. And she even proposed it. Like, I can't believe, like, hey, you will not believe who I met here on the streets in St. Petersburg. And he's like, who is this? Who is this? So they put him on speaker. I say like, hey, it's me, Artem, blah, blah, how you doing? You can almost feel the tension in the air immediately skyrockets. The guy was like, yes or no type of questions, and like he just wanted to end the conversation as soon as possible. Once again, all of this is because I was only studying in America, the enemy, according to Putin, of Russia. This was the only reason. I never openly disrespected them, never openly said anything about them, nothing. This whole thing started just because I was studying in America. Then obviously war started 2022, and this is like a complete disaster since then. Like we are absolute traitors. We are the family of traitors for them, even though like my aunt and my father, they are brothers and sisters. So long story short, their relatives are also in some way like not the direct father, not the direct grandfather and mother, but they also have relatives in Zaporozhye. They also have relatives in Ukraine, and they prefer to believe propaganda, Solovyov, I don't know, Putin, whatever they hear on TV. They prefer to believe those people they never met in their lives, rather than their own relatives who live in Zaporozhye and who tell them like, this is ridiculous, we live here. Do you want me? I can literally send you a video of a missile strike, drone strike, and they're like, no, this is all propaganda. This is Ukrainians bombing themselves, just so you can blame glorious Russian army. And yeah, since 2022, basically no improvements, no nothing. We're absolutely not talking anymore. Many more other not so good things happened, but still, our family, my father, me personally, we still, believe it or not, consider them as relatives because they are relatives. We just wait until the war is over, when all this propaganda disappears, and like in the Nazi Germany back in the 40s, eventually when the common sense settles in, this will be absolutely clear who was right, who was wrong. We're not going to ask for their forgiveness. We're not going to tell them you have to be on your knees to beg us to forgive you. No, nothing like this. Like, I'm 100% convinced they're going to realize who was right, who was wrong. We will accept them back as a family because, we know that these people are absolutely brainwashed with propaganda. Even if they turn on against their own family members, this is like the highest, the worst level of being brainwashed possible you can imagine. Yet, we still consider them as relatives. We just wait for better times. Let's call it like this, when propaganda is no longer here and everything will be clear moving forward. That's the brief story.
Oh my God, bro, when I hear stories like this, especially when people would rather even prefer believing national television than their own relatives who like send them videos and pictures and everything else, that is literally, I would like to laugh, but that is just too sad, to laugh at. Seriously, such things as destruction of family ties, that is very, very tragic. And I can tell, again, because I don't have direct relatives in Russia, but a lot of my friends do. And they all say that they lost somebody even before the full-scale Russian invasion. They lost somebody like aunts or cousins on that side, literally because they would prefer to trust Putin, who was saying that there's like Nazi regime in Ukraine. What kind of Nazi regime? Oh my God. But you are a public person. How do you think, is it dangerous for you to visit Russia with this current regime?
Since every single video I made about this was in English, so I'm obviously having huge concerns. I'm not planning in the near future to visit Russia, even though, once again, the last time I was in 2018, so 7 years ago was the last time I went to Russia. So I do have obviously huge concerns about visiting, but I don't feel maybe extremely afraid or anything like this, like if I will be making those videos in Russian. Because other Russian opposition who talk against the regime in Russian, they are the ones targeting the minds of Russian people. Because my my audience is not Russian people, even though I wish more Russians will be watching me. But even if I go into analytics, I have viewership from Russia even before they blocked YouTube, slowed down YouTube in Russia. It was literally 0.02%. And this was mostly my father just putting playlist of my videos on repeat and just watching them 24/7. So I'm assuming this is where 0.2% of views came from. So long story short, yes, obviously I do have concerns, but I'm not maybe extremely as concerned as if I'll be making those videos in Russian. Once again, they are I'm almost certain they're too busy right now hunting down every single person who speaks against Russia. But even if they do it, they will be primarily focused on those people who do those things in Russian, because they want to protect the brainwashed minds of those patriots, Russians. They don't want them to start thinking otherwise. And since those people are not my target audience, hopefully, at least this is in my mind as well, hopefully I'm relatively safe. So in case there is some kind of an emergency, I need to go back to Russia, it will be maybe not as concerning as it could have been. But yeah, the reality, it is concerning.
I bet. Bro, by the way, you are hanging on my stream, on my screen. I'm not sure if you probably opened something again.
To open anything, but I can try to reconnect again my camera. Help.
Yeah, please do.
Yes, we live in 2025 and people are sent to Mars, I don't know, to Moon, but apparently you cannot have a live stream with video not free.
Absolutely. It happens all the time, especially on my channel, for some reason.
I will be trying to reconnect. If you want, just feel the silence. If you want to say something, I'll just try
Sure.
to reconnect my camera in the meantime, and I hear you in the meantime.
Okay. Yeah, so dear friends, let's wait until Artem reconnects. And in the meantime, this is tragic. My commander told me once, when he returned level 70, yes, Artem is from Canada, and it wasn't me. I will ask your question, of course, in just a second when Artem returns. My commander was also from Vinnytsia, and he had relatives in Russia before the Russian hybrid aggression, and they communicated before it all started. And he said already back then, when I think some of their common mutual relative died, and he went to Russia, and he said that his brother immediately, when they were immediately said, so why do you steal our gas? And it was crazy. We have Artem back, brother.
Yes.
Yes, and we can
Thank
hear you
you.
as well.
I'm back.
Welcome back. Now we have a question from one of our family members. It wasn't me. Asks, can you please ask Artem what he thinks is the reason why he wasn't brainwashed like so many other Russians? Which is very interesting and very important, by the way, I would say.
It's the answer is pretty simple. I would say, we were as a family traveling. We were not watching just two TV channels on our TVs. My father, even after war started, our babushka, our grandmother, she was also extremely. Am I freezing? Oh, good. So my babushka was also extremely brainwashed. So every single time they were bringing her home in Moscow, she was like watching TV channel one, Первый канал, blah blah blah. My father just literally disconnected cable. That's it. They were only watching like channels which are available over the internet, YouTube until it got blocked, things like that. He literally just like, that's it, I'm done. I'm just disconnecting. I'm leaving myself KHL channel because he loves hockey. And yeah, they almost don't watch TV anymore. As a family, also, we were traveling a lot. We were going to America. First time in America, I was maybe 2007, I would say. So with our own eyes, we saw that no, streets New York are not filled with homeless people. Obviously, there are some neighborhoods, regions in New York where you just don't go. But most of New York is a normal city, exactly like maybe what you see on TV in the movies, anything like this. Streets of Moscow can be also filled with homeless people living under the bridge, having some fire in the empty barrels and things like this. But well, they don't show it. So traveling obviously helped. We went through Europe by car like 2-3 times. Literally, first time we went by car when the borders were still kind of accessible to Russians, from all the way from the north as far as to the Norway, to all the way to the south, to Bulgaria. And another trip across Europe was all the way to the west, almost to like Spain, and then again back to Bulgaria. So we visited literally almost every single European country. We have not seen that, every single person there is homosexual, wearing makeup, being a male is prohibited to be with the female, things like this. No, it's absolutely exactly the same as you see in movies, like you would expect it. It's a city, a normal city with its own life. People going at work at 9 a.m., coming back home at 5 p.m. If it's, I don't know, Spain, they have siesta from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. or something like this. Exactly the same stuff. Nothing what propaganda was telling us every single time. They don't rob you on the street just because you're Russian. Even last time, we even went to Ukraine by car during this European trips by car. This was way before Crimea, still 2010, I would say 2010. We were in Kiev in McDonald's. I remember we were ordering in Russian. Everyone around us was speaking in Russian, but we have very distinct Moscow accent where every single O that we say is A. So you can clearly tell we're Russians from Moscow. Not a single side eye like looking at us, nothing like this, absolutely normal. And then suddenly propaganda started telling that, no, this is not how it is in Europe. This is not how it is in America. If you say at least one word in Russian accent, not even in Russia, but in Russian accent in Miami, some people will go, Cubans will steal you and then torture you in Puerto Rico. Things like this. Nothing like this ever happened. So yeah, we believe our own eyes, then ears, what we hear on TV, what we see on TV. No, it just makes sense to believe what you experienced yourself rather than somebody tells you that something is about to happen. That's pretty much how we state in common sense. Simple as that.
I completely agree with you. You know, I meet a lot of people who actually traveled abroad. Because generally in Ukraine we also had this problem. For example, quite a few people living in eastern Ukraine. The farthest they went would be like northern sea of Russia. You know, people living in the rest of Ukraine. Like central Ukraine, northern Ukraine, western Ukraine, of course, they would travel like all over the world. And they would see how life there looks like. And this is, again, something so important to learn from others, to learn about others, other cultures, other nations, seeing other places. This is not just mind-opening, and it's not just important. This is mandatory. If you want to be a proper person, if you want to be decent, this is mandatory. You gotta travel, you gotta learn, because otherwise you will end up telling crazy stories about, you know, Ukraine is flat like a pancake, and it's scattered with the bodies of both sides, you know, and stuff like that. Speaking of Canada, by the way, what's the situation like there? I'm talking about the recent standoffs with Donald Trump and team.
No, I guess. So one quick thing to mention, I guess, before we can transition to Donald Trump and everything. In Canada, in Toronto specifically, it is pretty much the New York of America. So New York is mostly, I guess, Russians in Brighton Beach. In Toronto, it's the Ukrainians. So literally in the place where we live, it is full of Ukrainians. Like I hear Russian, and they, by the way, speak Russian. 90% of Ukrainians here, they still speak Russian, which also goes against the Russian propaganda that said Ukrainians, they forcefully, they don't know Ukrainian, but they will prefer not to speak rather than to speak Russian. No, 90% of people here, Ukrainians, they speak in Russian, absolutely normal. Like we have, like whenever I was in the kids' room with my daughter, there were two Ukrainian mothers with their own kids, absolutely normal towards me, obviously knowing I'm Russian because of my accent. I spoke with them, they spoke to me, no confrontation, nothing like this. I'm even wearing my hat with the Freedom of Russia Legion flag, like literally on my almost forehead. However comic it sounds, here outside, and yeah, nobody cares. Nobody says like, "Oh, you're Russian," blah blah. Nothing like this. I even have a how's called like tracksuit which says Russia hockey team. Also, zero questions asked since the war started. So yeah, absolutely normal. Both Ukrainians, both Russians, if they don't fall to this propaganda, they can coexist like normal people. And now back to the Canada and Donald Trump. I play hockey here in Canada. I mean, being a Russian Canadian and not play hockey while being in Canada, that's impossible. So this is probably my best exposure to the real Canadians than anywhere else. I mean, playing hockey in Canada, who else are you gonna play with them? Like real Canadians. And so yeah, majority of them they voted already. We had elections last Monday, right? So we had elections, and for the first time ever in my life, I voted in the elections. That means something, by the way. So congratulations to me. Every single person on my Canadian hockey team, they voted for the Liberal Party just because they were more against Trump than Conservative Party or any other party. Just like in America, in Canada, it is mostly liberals or conservatives. Other parties are so insignificant, unfortunately, that they have no chance of winning. So it was liberals or conservatives. Liberals were just liberals were just more aggressive against Trump. The entire the entire program, I guess that's the word, of a liberal prime minister was built around Trump, Canada against Trump. And so, yeah, they were just like literally voting. I don't mind. I was pretty much in the center. My Canadian hockey friends were saying. They were saying, I don't mind liberals or conservatives. They're kind of more or less the same. But liberal guy, he's saying that he will do more thing against Trump. So I'm just pretty much voting for him. I don't think they're maybe that much affected by it, to be honest. They work in Canadian companies, they make a salary in Canadian dollars. I don't think any of them work in imports or exports or anything like this, but I know, yeah, it just Trump got so much under their skin. Trump lives in the Canadian hands, like literally rent free right now. So if you like Trump's election campaign was about, let's say, so immigrants, that illegal immigrants, we have to take them out. And everyone is like united around this goal. And same here, it feels like, I'm not saying it is real, but it feels like same thing. This is what liberals did here. They said, we're just going to fight against Trump. Like, just they built the entire election campaign about this one thing. And yeah, they just were telling maybe what people wanted them to hear. And these United Canadians, and yeah, apparently looks like he won. So we're going to have not 4 more years, but elections in Canada a little bit different. So for now, moving forward, we're going to continue having liberal government, which is very much against Trump. So yeah, I guess they're like the narrative, the sentiment in Canada right now is that, oh, so Donald Trump wants to have a tariff war on us, economic war against us, like bring it on, we are ready. I would say that this is the sentiment, but other than that, I don't see like people much changing their lifestyles or anything like this. So yeah, I would personally describe the situation in Canada and Donald Trump at this very moment approximately like this.
That's very interesting. And you know, I sincerely support people who don't support him. I will explain why. Because several months ago, there were elections here in Germany. Several months ago, right before the elections, Elon Musk calls AfD, and AfD is like ultra-right extremist party in Germany, and starts talking to them, promoting them in front of their voters, basically. And instead of winning, they actually lost several percents of votes because of that, because Elon Musk called them, which again is a good indication. If you don't like Elon Musk, then probably you are sane and absolutely beautiful person. And so Musk calls AfD, tells them that you guys are the only hope for Germany, etc., etc. They're basically like Adolf's followers, so to say.
Yes.
Last year, several Russian spies were exposed in this party, and then a Chinese spy was exposed in the same party. It's literally you spit in that crowd and you hit a spy. And recently they are recognized in Germany as an extremist party. Then Poland, Pivo, Jesus Christ, peace. Право и справедливость, I think, I don't remember exactly, I always mix them up. But anyways, those guys are getting increasingly oppositionist towards Ukraine. I would not call them like ultra-right, but they are kind of conservative, right? And eventually they're getting more and more intolerant towards Ukraine. So Trump invites one of them, their representative, their presidential candidate, to the White House. So apparently, I think, you know, if it's like with Putin. If Putin says something good about you, then apparently there's something very, very wrong with you, my friend. If Putin hates you, then you're the proper guy. I think with Trump it works the same, even despite the fact that recently he kind of started doing some kind of moves towards Ukraine, like there were several agreements on military supplies to Ukraine. Again, nothing pretty much defined as of today, but like on the level of talks. Anyways, what was the craziest thing coming from the White House that you have heard lately? And sorry again for interrupting. Like, you know, not like I enjoy talking about Trump, because we hear about Trump every single freaking day. I just want to cry in my car while no one is watching. Like, I hate this stuff. But on the other hand, why not? Why not? You know, he likes making headlines.
No, so since obviously I'm in Canada, I'm not that extremely much concerned about American politics, at least maybe until we move to Florida or something, let's move to America. So long story short, the last thing I heard was the minerals deal, which was signed, very controversial deal, but at the same time, it kind of feels like that, like Ukraine maybe, and maybe you as a representative of Ukraine, maybe you can also even confirm or deny it, that Ukrainians, all this support from America, do you consider this as like a gift you don't need to return, or you kind of realize that maybe at some point in the future when situation is stable, you will have to get back to America, at least something. Like, as a Ukrainian person, what do you think, by the way? One question for you.
What do you mean?
No, like all these billions of dollars that America gave to Ukraine to support, is it like you as Ukrainians consider this like as a gift and that's it, thank you so much, we're going to use it to the best of our ability? Or you think that Ukrainians are kind that they need to get back to America, at least something at some point in the future?
I got it. So first of all, in that very mineral agreement, the rare minerals agreement, there was nothing about Ukraine's debt. Thank God, and Jesus Christ and all the saints, because, you know, first he talked about $350 billion of debt. Then he talked about $100 billion of debt. Now, thank God, again, in the minerals deal, there's nothing about debt of Ukraine. Of course, I believe that the very fact that United States supported Ukraine and sent Ukraine, like, those are tremendous money for Ukraine. For the United States, not so much. If $1 billion was like $100, that would be roughly 1/3 of a penny. You know, so. On the other hand, for Ukrainians, that is a tremendous money, tremendous resources on the first place that helped us survive. Those money were sent to Ukraine primarily as weapons, physically as weapons, so we could fight back. Ukrainian pensioners, Ukrainian teachers, Ukrainian people in general, they didn't receive salary from those money. So they literally helped us survive. On the other hand, 1994, Ukraine gave up world's third biggest nuclear arsenal because our friends, our partners from United States asked us to get rid of those weapons, because, let's be honest, those missiles were primarily aimed at every big city in the United States, also all over the world, United Kingdom and stuff like that. So to us, it was a good decision, a good step made, because of course we didn't want to strike those guys, right? That they are friends, they are partners, allies, etc., etc. But on the other hand, what do we do in case somebody decides to attack Ukraine? If we have no nuclear weapons left, what do we do? And that is when United States and United Kingdom and Russia decided to provide Ukraine with security guarantees that didn't work. That is according to the Budapest Memorandum. To those who want to ask how much money does Ukraine owe the US for their support, I would like to ask a different question. How much would you think, would you consider the world's third largest nuclear arsenal would cost? And I'm talking about hundreds of ICBMs, not only ICBMs that required the excess codes, but also tactical nukes, because we had tactical artillery shells that you shoot like several, like 10, 20 kilometers away. We had nuclear bombs, we had nuclear backpacks, again, tactical nuclear backpacks. I knew a guy, he died unfortunately, but I knew a guy who, during the Soviet Union, commanded the group of Spetsnaz who literally, they were carrying those. So what is the cost of Ukraine's world's third largest nuclear arsenal? That is an interesting question. And by the way, Jilke here says very, very proper thing about it. Investment, not a gift. So I think that's a good explanation. Speaking of Trump, which I don't want to talk about Trump, but it's like, we gotta do something to this, because one way or another, he's like every single day in the media. But Trump is withdrawing from the peace talks. I've been arguing with my friends lately because some of my friends believe that it's bad for Ukraine. I have reasons to believe that it's actually bad for Putin. What is your opinion? Is it good for Ukraine, or is it good for Russia, or is it bad for Ukraine, or is it bad for Russia? What's your thoughts?
Is it good or bad that America is trying to withdraw from the peace talk? Your question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, originally, almost even before Trump was elected as president, even because, yeah, once again, another big thing about his political campaign was that I'm going to end the war in Ukraine, 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, almost since he was starting to make this as his like maybe top 3 priorities, top 3 promises of his political campaign, at that time, back in like October, September, almost a year ago, at least I had first in my mind, then I shared with my wife, then I said to my parents, blah, blah, then I started speaking about this in my videos, blah, blah. But the idea is that if Trump will not be able to achieve fast peace, like he always wants to have everything fast, I'm solving problems like one day one problem, next day another problem. If he will not be able to solve this problem fast, obviously not in 24 hours, but a week, maybe months, maybe 2 months at best, I already at that time felt that he's going to start slowly switching his attention to something else. Because unfortunately, people forget fast. Yes, it was one of his biggest promises. I'm going to end war in Ukraine. But if he just stops talking about it, which he doesn't talk maybe that much as he used to about the war in Ukraine, people start kind of like, okay, like let's now focus on tariffs, let's now focus on immigrants, let's now focus on this, on this, on this, and that. And that's it, pretty much. He was not able to achieve fast peace because he was not prepared that Putin is going to play him, because he was used to playing people. Now there is a bigger fish in the ocean who will be playing him, who is playing him. And that's what I was thinking 10 months ago, that slowly Trump will just kind of put this in the background, let somebody else take care of it, and hope that people will forget about this promise. Of course, somebody will always remind him, what about peace in Ukraine? You promised in 24 hours. He will just say something like, we're working on it. And eventually, yeah, he will just get tired of this and completely abandon the idea and let Russia and Ukraine try to handle their own things together. And so far, pretty much looks like what is happening, what is about to happen right now. If it is a good or bad thing for both Russia, or either Russia or Ukraine, also tricky question. Like, Russian economy right now is the wartime economy. So the only way they survive without economy completely collapsing, because like what is $50,000 for sign-up bonuses, $2,000-3,000 per month salaries for fighting in Ukraine. These are the salaries of bus drivers, which used to make like $400 per month before they signed a military contract, and instantaneously made like 12-13 years of their salary, or I mean months in their salary, or years, whatever. They made a lot of money by doing this. As soon as war is over, these people will not want to be back driving subway, trains, cars, whatever, for $350 per month. There will potentially not even be enough money in the budget for this because military factories will close, not much money for Russia. So Putin, unfortunately, for him, not for us, he put Russian economy on the military tracks, and ending war for him means that that's it, the economy is going to collapse, and people might not care about war in Ukraine, Russians, but they will care whenever they will not be able to afford as much groceries as they used to, or whenever mortgage is going to become like 40, 50, 60%. So he knows that when the economy is going to have troubles, when people's wallets are going to get thinner and there's not going to be that much rubles inside them, this is when some real protests, some real problems for his regime might start. Unfortunately, for the situation we have right now, America withdrawing or trying to withdraw from the peace talks might be a little bit more favorable for Russia. That's my just honest opinion. At the same time, Ukraine maybe at the same time, if they see that America withdrawing, maybe I'm just also like just second guessing right now, or just making crazy assumptions. Well, assumptions, I'm literally just speaking whatever's on my mind. Some things might be right, some things might be wrong, some things you might agree or disagree with. Maybe if it's back to status quo, back to square zero, square root one, whatever it's called, when just Russia and Ukraine in this war, with other countries being maybe just more an observer type of role and just like sponsor, investor type of role. Maybe this will also let Putin sleep more often because now he knows, okay, America is not watching closely that much. Europe maybe is not watching that much closely as they used to several months ago. So maybe Putin is going to get careless. Maybe his military commanders, Russian generals, will do some also like careless activities, careless acts, continue the invasion, and then Ukraine will have the opportunity to say to the world once again, like, look, we told you this is going to happen, and this is exactly what is happening. Every single Putin's promise in the past that we're just going to stop wherever we are right now. We don't need Kherson, we don't need Zaporozhye, we don't need Luhansk, Donetsk. All this was a lie. So maybe, just maybe, this can also in some way play in Ukraine's favor in some way once again, that this will allow the world to see the true nature of Putin when he is not restricted by American watchful eye. Let's call it like this. So this would be my assumption.
Actually makes sense. And you mentioned Russian economy. That is something that I wanted to ask you. What is needed, in your opinion, for Putin's regime to collapse, maybe economically, on the first place? And what's most important, what kind of things should we look for? What will indicate that his regime is collapsing?
Most likely something economical related, because every single war, every single military intervention, invasion, it can be propagandized, it can be brainwashed with a lot of propaganda, and the people of Russia are ready for these things, for the potential invasions, I don't know, in the future or current invasions. They know that everyone is around us is an enemy. We need to protect ourselves. One time it's Georgia, next time it's Chechnya, next time it's Ukraine, next time it might be, I don't know, whatever, like Azerbaijan, Turkey, Poland, Czechoslovakia, how it's called, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, whatever. So they kind of know that, okay, everyone around us is the enemy. We are good. Our society is strong as never before. We're united around a strong leader, blah, blah, blah. And this is obviously transitioning the mindset of the patriots, of the people who are unfortunately brainwashed. But once their own lives get unstable, once their own salaries get thinner, like, or at least even salaries stay the same, but then the prices for the rent, prices for the groceries, prices for the gas get so exponentially higher, price to fix your car gets like 20% of your car price, because simply there are no components, there are no parts for, I don't know, like, not, I'm not even saying like Mercedes or BMWs, but if there are even no components for, I don't know, like French cars, or I don't know, like some basic Italian cars, Smart, Fiat, whatever. This is when people, whenever they experience it themselves, because economy obviously affects everyone. Every single person participates, lives in the economy of the country, makes salary, makes money, spends money. As soon as they're going to feel it themselves, this is when way more questions are going to start to appear in their heads. Wasn't Putin promising us bright future as soon as all of our enemies are defeated? Wasn't Putin promising that our economy is going to be stable? What about me when I used to make $2,000-3,000 per month sitting in a trench, and now I cannot even find a work being a security guard in the local grocery store making $220 per month? Like, this is exactly the point when people start asking the questions. And once again, coming back to the previous question, this is why I think, unfortunately for Putin, ending war is the worst case scenario. Because yes, maybe the country is unstable, countries at war, people are dying. I don't think he cares. But for him, this is the lesser of the evil, other than the threat to his regime. When people are going to go on the streets, people are hungry, people are poor, and this is when they go on the street and start answering. Because yeah, they can tolerate everything. They can tolerate invisible Ukrainian Nazis. They can tolerate, I don't know, like terrorists from Estonia or wherever, because they don't see them. But the TV tells them they exist. But TV cannot tell them 1,000 rubles exist in your wallet. They just simply need to open it. And this is coming to the very first topic we talked about, is that you will not be brainwashed because you see things with your own eyes. If you open your wallet and you see there are like 200 rubles, like $2 left, there is no way TV can convince you that you're rich. If you are not eating either anything other than bread and water and you're hungry, there is no way TV can convince you that you're going to get a ribeye steak tomorrow from the government delivered to you by a helicopter, whatever. Nothing like this ever be convinced. So this is potentially what can trigger a lot of unrest within Russia. Also my personal opinion, but in my mind, it makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely makes sense to me as well. I wanted to ask you this: do you support? Obviously, you do support Russian freedom fighters, Legion, Freedom for Russia, Russian Freedom Corps, etc., etc. Do you do any sort of fundraisers for those guys? Maybe support them in some way?
In the very beginning, I was doing donations. I still do donations occasionally, not that much anymore. In the very beginning, I was doing United 24. Like, there was a charity, there was Zelensky's United 24. I think there was a selection. You can either donate to the military, to the reconstruction of Ukraine, or to something, I think, medicine related. I donated the whole month of my YouTube revenue at that point to reconstruction of Ukraine fund. I was donating some, unfortunately, to the Red Cross. I donated also some money, and mostly since then, occasionally every several months, I just send money to my Ukrainian family. It totaled already to a decent number. I don't want to show off my donation skills, my donation achievements, but yeah, on a regular basis, relatively, I still just send money to my Ukrainian family from time to time. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, which, by the way, pretty much answers. And oh my God, you froze on the channel with such a cool face, bro. Can you see yourself?
Not yet, but it will pick up soon, I guess, because I have the live stream simultaneously opened on my iPad. But yeah,
it's not
okay,
bad.
now I see it. Now
I can mimic you. I can be like.
I can see it. I can see it. Now, it's typical. Whenever you pause the video, it's always faces like this. Nothing, but at least you can clearly see I'm wearing Adidas now.
Yeah, we basically today is like, you know, the grumpy stream with grumpy Slavs. Yeah, so we're not even supposed to like smile, you know. Yeah, my dear friends, while Artem is fixing his video, I'm already like crying here. Jesus Christ, what happened? While Artem is fixing his stream, let me remind you that we are also running a fundraiser for 4th Operative Brigade of the National Guard, Rubizh, legendary HOSTOMEL Brigade of the National Guard that faced Russian invasion on the very first day in the HOSTOMEL airfield, basically, and continues today throughout Ukraine, Bakhmut, Rubizhne, Lysychansk, Severodonetsk, and other crazy places. Those are my guys. I root for them. I worry for them, of course, every day. And the drones that we are trying to supply them with, they will be saving their lives. So guys, please keep that in mind. And also, please check out the link in the description. Also, please check out the direct transfer if you're preferring to transfer directly. There's also option there. We work together with the European Resilience Initiative Center. And yes, my friend is back. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Yeah, maybe you heard it. My family is back.
Yay! It's always cool when the family is back.
Yes. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much me. That's pretty much me, my story, and everything.
I wanted to ask you this. Do you want to visit Ukraine after the war is finished? And where would you go on the first place?
100% Vinnytsia to see my relatives from Ukraine in Vinnytsia. They have a very nice, like typical, like dacha, огород, how it's called, like where basically where you plant your own vegetables, you have your own chickens, things like this. Everything is like Americans, I guess I would say organic, gluten-free, blah, blah, blah. They just grow their own food. It's so nice. My cousin, she sent me pictures from time to time. They just recently started. Огород, I don't know, I forgot what was it, like plantation, I don't know what it was called, like where you plant vegetables.
Garden, not
Yeah,
garden.
garden. Yeah, garden.
Vegetable
They
garden. I don't know.
yeah. So they just recently started this, like, like first before transitioning this into the soil, to the ground outside. They have like dozens of like these plastic bottles, which are like cut in half. There's like soil, there's like tomatoes, there's like cucumbers, there's like onions, this is like garlic. And once they grow a little bit grow a little bit stronger, they're going to transition to the soil. So yeah, so like peaceful life, nice life, some village. It's not entirely in Vinnytsia, it's like a small, like literally a small village, I guess that's the word, like near Vinnytsia in like drivable distance, like 20, 30 minutes away. Like these typical like wooden houses that most people just build with their own hands, like so nice and cozy, incredible. Like they cannot wait to see us. We cannot wait to visit us. I think I can use my Canadian passport because going there with the Russian passport will be very interesting. I can use my Canadian passport and go there visa free. I don't think Canadians need visas. And yeah, just be with them, spend time with them, eat homemade borscht, homemade food, salad with garlic and rye black bread. Wow, this is absolutely, I cannot wait for this moment. Drive around in the old, I don't know, Lada 2103 or something like this, which is like 300,000 kilometers already, mileage and everything. Wow, it's like peaceful, typical, nice, quiet village Ukrainian life. Yeah, this is where I'll go, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, something I miss too, big time. We have a commentary from Greg Terry. He's here in the chat. He says, thank you for a great stream. Thank you so much, my dear friend. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat or on the screen. And we also had a question from One Grail. What level of hockey do you play?
So yes, whenever I was a kid, all the way until 13, 14, I was actually playing professional hockey. In the very beginning, I used to be in like junior Spartak team. That's like, I don't know, top 3 teams in Russia, KHL. Like, if you know anything about Russian hockey, you definitely heard about Spartak. So in this one I was playing, I was like actually preparing to be my Russian fathers, Soviet fathers, I would even say. If they really want their sons to be dedicated to hockey, they will do everything. And I think I froze again, right?
Yep.
Okay, so long story short, yeah, Soviet fathers, they really want their kids sometimes to be in sports, in hockey, in football, in soccer. And yeah, that's what my father was counting. One of the coaches, he is now training, he is still training the junior Russian hockey national team, which unfortunately right now only plays against Russia 16, Russia 18, Kazakhstan or Belarus, or sometimes, I don't know, like China. That's pretty much it. But he is coaching the Russian junior national team. He was saying like, hey, let's go with me like to another team. I really like how you're playing. So this was my highlight of my hockey career. But since then, like, yeah, it was more about education. I broke my leg, unfortunately, playing hockey as well. So long story short, it all went back to university level of hockey when I was in the university in Russia. And now I'm playing just so-called beer leagues, because after you play hockey, then you drink beer. So just like amateurs, anywhere from 20 to 60-year-old guys, just playing once a week, having fun, drinking beer, and talking about hockey, about the NHL playoffs which are going on right now.
Sounds great. By the way, yeah, you froze again.
Yes,
I'm
I
not
will
sure.
just
But...
use my, I don't know, I'll just, laptop camera, which is much worse quality, but what else to do? Let's see if it's gonna help.
Yeah, I wonder why it's. Are you using OBS?
Not right now.
I wonder what's the reason. It wasn't supposed to be like that. I'm very, very sorry, my dear friends and viewers, but it happens sometimes. It's because Artem is in Canada and it's freezing. That is literally the explanation. Maybe. Okay.
No, I have zero idea, unfortunately.
Try reconnecting.
I'm even trying to use my webcam from my laptop right now. It still doesn't work, but yeah, I guess I'll reconnect, see what happens.
Okay. Strange. That is strange. I agree. Sorry. Maybe it's because it's freezing in Canada. Maybe it's because of a sabotage. Who knows? We'll never know. Maybe another hacker attack. Cunning communists trying to destroy our stream. We'll see. So, today, I published a video on the UATV with most important updates of the past week. Check it out if you haven't done it as of now. 37% more sarcasm this time I used in this specific episode. Let me know if it's okay or not, because that is literally, I just cannot stop it. Sometimes when I watch cringy updates from Terror Russia, that's literally just something that keeps coming out of me itself. I have no idea why. Also today I had an interview with Times Radio, and it was interesting. It was good. I love my colleagues at the Times Radio. Cheers, you're the best. What else? What else can I tell you before Artem returns? Katie, 37 and a half maybe. Around that. Yeah. So I'm thinking of creating a channel dedicated to flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which will be something completely not interesting for 95% of you, my dear friends. I'm sure that's why I'm not making you subscribe or anything else. But if you do, I will be very, very happy. On the other hand, of course, I need to find time to make it possible, because literally it's like, in the morning I'm driving with one hand and brushing my teeth with another hand, driving my lady to her job. Then on my way back again, I'm driving with one hand, typing with another hand, and then it's like video and probably an interview, probably a stream if lucky, and then I sleep. And hey bro, welcome back. How's things?
Yeah, I tried to use my laptop camera. It was even worse. So it was not working completely. Back to my house call camera. So yeah,
Oh my
let's see
god.
how.
Oh my God.
It froze again. So yeah, I guess I don't know what to do about this anymore. It just maybe a browser or something. Yeah, I don't control anything.
You think it's browser? Maybe browser, by the way. You know what? Do you have Zoom?
Yes, maybe, or I need to just download it.
Ah, okay. Just forget it. I was telling our dear viewers why we basically couldn't make this stream happen for like a month or two or something, because it's literally when you don't really I don't really have time for like having proper food or proper sleep. That is something insane. Yeah, generally speaking, I don't even have time to shave. That is crazy. That is crazy. If I was still in the army, I would probably hate myself. But anyways, anyways, I wonder why your camera freezes. My dear friends, do we have an expert in
Maybe
the chat?
maybe I don't know, maybe it overheated because I was recording my own video for like
Ah,
30 minutes before, so my camera was recording for like 2 hours. It's been on for 2+ hours at this point already, so that's literally my only guess. Because every single time I reconnect it, it just stops working sooner. So maybe it's over, or maybe this cam link Elgato, maybe it's overheated, not the camera, but this like USB stick which I used to connect to laptop. Maybe this is what happens.
which camera do you use?
Sony A7 III, like the most popular YouTube camera, I guess, ever
like
possible.
like mine. Yeah, so in the settings you can probably you already did it. There's in the settings you can select operating temperature. There's like limit, and you can select it like limitless. So if the operating temperature is high, it can still work. Like you can select it in the settings. I don't remember exactly where because you gotta search it. Um. Anyways, tell me this: how much time do you have left?
I guess unfortunately not much because my daughter was supposed to start eating like 15 minutes ago already.
Oh
And
shit.
since my camera is not working much already, so I guess that could be a good point.
That would be definitely a good opportunity to call it a night. And first of all, thank you so much for joining. And maybe there is also a message that you would like to pass to our viewers so I could let you go.
Yes, of course. So unfortunately you cannot see me, but I guess you can still see my frozen part on the screen. So you're saying you don't have much time to even shave, me neither, apparently. And long story short, yeah, just guys be open-minded, be always just free to all points of view, to accept all points of view. It might be completely unacceptable for you at first, but like if it's an obvious propaganda, yeah, like there is no way just to ignore it. But if some person is trying with his honest fire in his eyes to say something to you to prove, at least give a chance to listen. You will be able to distinguish if it's propaganda or not pretty much immediately. That is how. This is how I see once again Ukrainians here in Canada. They hear, they know that I'm Russian, but they are open-minded, being open-minded to me. They don't immediately, how it's called, like generalize that, oh, I'm Russian, so I must support Putin. No, and this is what makes me feel more comfortable. This is how I guess you should treat people. Be also open-minded, be good to other people, be kind to other people. When the war started, obviously I did not want to even speak in the public because my Russian accent is so recognizable. People will immediately like, oh, he is Russian, so definitely he started the war. He was the one in Kremlin with Putin who signed the invasion order, invasion papers, blah blah blah. But no, then I saw that people, especially first of all people who know me, my hockey team, they were concerned about me. So hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Is anyone drafted? Anyone went sent to Ukraine? Blah blah to fight? Is everyone alive? People were concerned. People were just people. People were humane, and this is pretty much how you treat people. Be useful. Don't make other people's lives harder. Be good to other people. Be open-minded. Hear everyone's story. Everyone's story is different. Yeah, just be a good, decent human being, and it will go for a very long way in your life being a good person. That pretty much my last message, I would say.
I can sign under this statement 100%. Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you so much, my dear viewers. Thank you so much for your support. There's, by the way, a lot of viewers, I think, who watch your channel as well, sending you a lot of love and hugs, and also much love to you and your family as well from me. Thanks once again, dear viewers, dear members of this channel, helping it run and continue working. Also, everybody who donates, try to help my brigade. Also, big thanks goes to you. And generally, thank you so much for supporting Ukraine. This is the proper thing to do. See you later. And as always, be safe.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for everyone. Have a good day. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.